I fired the shot that killed my career in front of a room full of suits who pretended not to notice the blood on the carpet. By dawn, the man who'd sworn to build an empire with me had vanished, leaving behind a trail of forged signatures that pinned every felony on my name. And just when I thought rock bottom was the merger announcement calling me redundant, $310 million hit my account like a ghost's apology, money that wasn't mine. But damn if it didn't feel like the first real thing I'd owned in years. That's how it started. Or at least that's the version I tell myself when the nightmares loop back to that fluorescent-lit conference room in Midtown. I'm Zoe Harlan, or was, back when I was the wunderkind CFO of Apex Dynamics. The kind of exec who could charm a venture capitalist into betting his daughter's trust fund on a pitch deck scribbled on a napkin. New York in 2025 was my playground, rooftop bars in Soho, where deals got sealed over $25 martinis. Anonymous hookups in the back of black cars idling outside the Met Gala after-parties. And boardrooms where the air smelled like expensive cologne and desperation. I thrived on it. The cutthroat rhythm of Wall Street, where loyalty was just another line item to expense. But Marcus Vail was the exception. Or so I believed. We met at Wharton, back when we were both 22 and drunk on Ivy League entitlement. Him with his trust fund jawline, and me clawing my way up from a trailer park in Scranton. He was the visionary. The one who dreamed of disrupting fintech with algorithms that could predict market crashes before the Fed even blinked. I was the numbers girl. The one who made his fever dreams add up. We built Apex together, late nights in his Tribeca loft, fueled by Adderall and takeout from Xi'an Famous Foods, laughing about how we'd fuck over the old guard. We're the new blood.
Zoe, he'd say,
his hand sliding up my thigh under the desk. They'll hate us, but they'll invest. 10 years later, Apex was valued at $2.7 billion, and we were the power couple of Silicon Alley. Engaged. Even though the ring was a placeholder. A Tiffany's loaner he promised to upgrade once the IPO hit. That's when the merger talks with Vanguard Capital started. Vanguard was old money, the kind that traced back to robber barons, run by Harlan Crow, a silver-haired prick who collected Picassos and mistresses like they were Pokémon cards. He wanted Apex's tech to juice his dinosaur portfolio, and Marcus was all in. This is it, babe, he whispered one night in our king-sized bed overlooking the Hudson. We're talking 9 figures for us. Retire at 40. Sail the Med on a yacht named after you. I should have seen the cracks then. The way Marcus started taking calls in the bathroom, his voice low and clipped. The consultants from Vanguard who lingered too long in our meetings, their eyes appraising me like I was inventory. But I was too busy crunching the numbers, making sure the deal wouldn't bleed us dry. Redundancy clauses? Standard boilerplate. I initialed them without a second thought. The announcement came on a Tuesday, 9:15 a.m., in the glass-walled auditorium of Vanguard's HQ on Park Avenue. 200 employees crammed in, ties loosened, expecting champagne toasts. Instead, Harlan Crow took the stage, his voice booming like a bad 80s movie villain. Today marks a bold new chapter for Vanguard Capital and the former Apex Dynamics team. We've identified synergies that will propel us into the future. Synergies. Corporate speak for, you're expendable. Then he named names. Marketing leads, IT grunts, mid-level sacrifices to appease the street.
And me.
Zoe Harlan, our esteemed CFO, will be transitioning out as we streamline leadership. Transitioning out. That's when I felt it. The cold drip of betrayal sliding down my spine. Marcus was right there, 2 seats away, his face a mask of practiced sympathy. He didn't meet my eyes when I turned to him, just squeezed my knee under the table like it was a reflex. By noon, my office was cleared, personal effects in a banker's box. Security escorting me to the elevators. Redundant, they called it in the press release. A polite way to say fired for being a loose end. I Ubered home to our loft. Numb. Popping a Xanax and scrolling LinkedIn for the inevitable flood of what happened. DMs. That's when my phone buzzed, a Vanguard alert. Account balance, $310 million. Pending transfer from Apex Escrow. Authorized by Marcus Vale. I stared at the screen until my vision blurred. It wasn't severance, it was the slush fund, the offshore pot we'd skimmed from early investors to keep the lights on during the 22 crash. Dirty money, laundered through shell companies in the Caymans, our little secret, the one that could land us both in federal pound-me-in-the-ass prison if the SEC sniffed it out. But he'd routed it all to me. Every cent. A digital noose, disguised as a gift. Panic hit like a freight train. I called him, straight to voicemail. Marcus. What the fuck?
Call me. Now.
Texts went unread. By evening, the news broke. Apex insiders arrested for fraud. Marcus named as the mastermind. And me, the fall guy. Emails forged in my name. Timestamps doctored to show I'd greenlit the schemes. The merger? A Trojan horse to flush out the rot, with me as the scapegoat. I didn't sleep. Instead, I paced the loft, the city lights mocking me through the windows. $310 million. Enough to disappear. Buy a compound in Montana. Hire lawyers who charged by the private jet. Or enough to burn it all down. Drag Marcus into the light with me. Betrayal like that doesn't fade. It festers, turns you into something sharp and unrecognizable. By morning, I'd made my choice. Revenge wasn't a plan, it was oxygen. That's when the real work began. I lawyered up first. A shark from Kravith named Elena Vasquez, who took one look at the transfer logs and whistled low. This is either the dumbest move or the smartest I've seen. He's either framing you or saving you. We dug FOIA requests, whistleblower tips, late-night subpoenas. Turns out, Marcus hadn't just sold me out, he'd been playing both sides from the jump. Vanguard approached him 6 months prior. Not for a merger, but a buyout. Harlan Crow wanted Apex's IP cheap, and Marcus brokered the deal, promising to deliver the company gutted. But the secret? The one that twisted the knife? It went back to Wharton. That 22 crash? I hadn't just crunched numbers, I'd cooked them. Falsified projections to secure a $50 million bridge loan from a shady VC firm tied to the mob. Marcus knew. Hell, he pushed for it. One white lie.
Zoe.
For us. When the Fed started circling post-merger, he flipped, confessed everything, pinned the fraud on me to cut a deal. Immunity for him. A lifetime subscription to Supermax for me. Elena leaked the transfer to Bloomberg that afternoon. Anonymous source claims CFO Harlan receives windfall amid scandal. The markets tanked Vanguard 8%. Harlan's face on every cable news ticker. Sputtering about internal audits. Marcus surfaced an oppressor from his lawyer's office in D.C. All wide-eyed innocence. Zoe was always ambitious. I never imagined. The hypocrisy burned hotter than the scotch I nursed that night. I didn't go gentle. First strike, I hired a PI, ex-FBI with a grudge against white-collar crooks. He tailed Marcus to a safe house in the Hamptons, where he was shacked up with his transition consultant, a 25-year-old influencer named Britt. All Pilates abs and sponsored Tesla posts. Photos hit my inbox, them on the beach. Him laughing like he hadn't just nuked my life. I forwarded them to Harlan Crow anonymously, with a note, "Your golden boy's extracurriculars." Leverage? Harlan bit. A week later, Marcus's immunity deal evaporated. He lawyered up harder, countersued me for defamation, claiming the transfer was my idea, a desperate grab before the fall. The tabloids ate it up. Fintech femme fatale or framed executive. Protests outside Vanguard HQ. Free Zoe trending on X. Even a podcast from some true crime bro in Austin dissecting our toxic romance. But Marcus was cunning. Always had been. He flipped again. This time leaking doctored audio to the Post, me, mid-argument,
saying,
"If we go down, we take the whole firm with us." It wasn't real. Deepfake bullshit spliced from old voicemails. But it stuck. My bail hearing turned into a circus. The judge, some Trump appointee with a hard-on for law and order, denied release. Flight risk. MS. Harlan. With that kind of incentive, jail was a wake-up call. Riker's women's wings smelling like bleach and regret. Cellmate was a Dominican grandma doing time for wire fraud, irony noted, who taught me the art of the long con.
Mia.
Revenge ain't about the hit. It's about making and watch their world unravel slow. I listened. Used commissary phone calls to Elena, who was building a war chest, witness statements from jilted Apex coders. Blockchain traces proving the deepfakes came from Marcus's IP. Out on appeal after 42 days, thanked $5 million in bail from a mystery donor. Harlan? Karma? Who knows? I went dark. New identity. Courtesy of a fixer in Queens, Zoe became Lila Voss, crashing in a walk-up in Bushwick. Hair dyed ash blonde, trading Louboutins for docs. The $310 mill? Frozen by the feds. But I'd siphoned 10% pre-lockdown into crypto wallets. Enough to fund the op. Phase 2. Infiltrate. Britt, Marcus's arm candy, was the weak link. Easy mark. Instagram DMs posing as a talent scout, luring her to a networking brunch at Le Cuckoo. Over mimosas. I played the sympathetic ex, spinning tales of Marcus's abuse. She bought it, tears and all, spilling how he'd promised her a cut of the merger spoils, then ghosted when the heat came. He's paranoid now.
Leah.
Thinks everyone's out to get him.
Leah.
Close enough. She fed me crumbs, drop times for his cash pickups, encrypted signal chats with Harlan's fixer. I passed it to the PI, who tipped the IRS anonymously. Raids hit Marcus's Hamptons pad at 6 a.m., feds in tactical gear hauling out servers and ledgers. Britt got immunity for flipping, testified he coerced her into laundering via her OnlyFans merch drops. Marcus lawyered up again, but the narrative shifted from victim to villain. He struck back. Of course. Hired goons, low-rent muscle from Brighton Beach, to persuade me to drop it. They cornered me outside a bodega on Knickerbocker, one with a Knicks tat on his neck mumbling about accidents. I sprayed them with wasp killer for my purse. Turns out, it's basically mace and bolted, heart hammering like a jackhammer. Filed a restraining order, but it only fueled the fire. Harlan called me direct then. Voice like gravel over a burner. Call off your dogs. Harlan. Or the tapes go public. Tapes? The originals. The real ones from that 22 loan deal. He'd buried them deep. Leverage against me. Checkmate. Or so he thought. But I'd anticipated. Elena had cracked his email, phishing via a fake SEC audit, with help from a hacker kid in Flatbush who took payment in Supreme drops. The tapes? Backed up on a Vanguard server. Time-stamped to show Harlan greenlit the whole Apex fraud to tank competitors. He wasn't clean, he was the architect, using Marcus as a pawn. The climax brewed in a neutral spot, neutral ground, a derelict warehouse in Red Hook where the East River lapped at rusting pilings. Marcus arranged it via Brit, truce talks. For old time's sake. I showed solo. Wired for sound. .38 in my garter, New York concealed carry. Post Bruin. Baby. He arrived in a black Escalade. Harlan's shadow in the passenger seat. Both in off-the-rack suits like they were playing mobsters in a Scorsese flick. You look good, Zoe, Marcus said, that old smirk cracking under the strain. Bags under his eyes. A fresh scar on his jaw from whatever jailhouse wisdom he'd picked up during his 48-hour stint. Brooklyn suits you.
Less.
Performative. Fuck you, I spat, keeping distance between the shipping containers. You sold me out for a pat on the head from Daddy Crow here. Harlan chuckled, lighting a Cuban despite the no-smoking signs. Business.
Is. Harlan.
You were always too sentimental. Marcus here? He's adaptable. Flipping again. Marcus shot him a look. Betrayal number 3. She doesn't know the half.
Harlan.
The real play. What followed was a verbal cage match. Accusations flying like shrapnel. Marcus confessed. The merger was his idea. But Harlan twisted it, forcing the frame up when SEC whispers got too close. Harlan countered. Marcus begged for the immunity. Offered me as tribute.
Me?
I laid it bare, the loan. The skim. How I'd shouldered it all because I loved him. Because I believed in the empire we built. You buried me alive. Marcus. For what? A yacht you can't even sail? The air thickened. Tension coiling like a spring. Harlan pulled a flash drive, insurance. He said, with enough dirt to bury us all. My emails. Marcus's ledgers. Even Brit's wire transfers. Burn it all. Or we walk. Marcus hesitated. Eyes flicking to me. That old spark flickering. For a heartbeat. I saw the boy from Wharton. The one who'd whispered dreams in the dark. Then he lunged, not for me, but Harlan, tackling him into the shadows. Grunts. A scuffle, fists on flesh. The flash drive skittering across concrete. I froze. Gun half drawn. The warehouse echoing with their snarls. Harlan got the upper hand, knee to Marcus's gut. But my ex fought dirty. Always had, elbow to the throat, rolling free.
Zoe.
Run, he gasped. But I didn't.
Couldn't.
The shot rang out before I could decide. Harlan's piece. A snub nose from his ankle holster. Barked once. Marcus jerked. Blood blooming on his shirt. Not fatal, but close. Grazing the shoulder. He staggered. Harlan advancing. Finger tightening. That's when I fired center mass. No hesitation. Harlan dropped like a sack of wet cement, eyes wide in surprise. The gun clattering away. Silence crashed in, broken only by Marcus's ragged breaths. Why? He wheezed,
Clutching the wound.
Because, I said, holstering the .38.
You started it.
But I finish. Cops swarmed 20 minutes later. Anonymous tip from Brit, who'd tailed us. Scene of the crime. Self-defense. They ruled quick. Harlan dead. Marcus arrested for conspiracy. The flash drive and evidence sealing his fate.
Me?
Cleared. The $310 mill unfrozen as restitution, though the IRS took their cut. Britt got a book deal. Elena, a partnership.
But the twist?
That flash drive Harlan waved? It wasn't leverage, it was a plan. Marcus had tipped me weeks prior. Through a dead drop in Tompkins Square. The real tapes? Destroyed. The frame-up? Mutual. We'd both known the merger was a sham. Both skimmed deeper than I'd admitted. Harlan was collateral. The patsy to end the cycle. Marcus took the fall. 20 to life in Otisville. Sending me postcards from the yard. Empire's yours now.
Babe.
Sail well. Was it revenge or redemption? Justice or just another con? The courts said hero. The op-eds called me monster. Zoe did it trended for months. Splitting the internet. Feminists cheering the boss bitch takedown. Bros decrying the crazy ex. I bought the yacht. Named her redundant. And sailed south. The skyline shrinking in the rearview. But at night, anchor down off Key West. I wonder, did I avenge us? Or just bury the boy I loved? No one's clean in this game. And that's the real ruin. Waking up to the hum of the Gulf Stream wasn't freedom, it was limbo. The kind where the salt air clings to your skin like regret. I'd anchored off Islamorada. The yacht's teak deck still smelling of varnish and new money. But every creak reminded me of the loft's floorboards under Marcus's pacing feet. 3 months post-shootout. And the headlines had faded to footnote status. But the dreams? They played on loop, Harlan's eyes glazing over. Marcus's blood hot on my hands. The flash drive's glow like a siren's call. I'd tried normalcy. Or the closest approximation a windfall fugitive could muster. Miami penthouse. Leased under Lila Voss, still blonde. Still paranoid, stocked with organic kale and a Peloton gathering dust. Days blurred into therapy sessions with a Park Avenue shrink who billed like a hedge funder. Nodding as I unpacked the betrayal in 50-minute bursts. It's classic attachment trauma. Zoe, she'd say. Her voice all honeyed empathy. You internalized his ambition as your own. Bullshit. It wasn't trauma, it was theft. He'd stolen my future. My name. And left me holding the bag, $310 million heavy. But laced with enough red flags to sink the Titanic. The feds cleared me fast, ballistics matched self-defense. Forensics pinned the conspiracy on Harlan and Marcus's emails. But clearance isn't absolution. SEC hearings dragged into summer. A parade of suits in the Dirksen building, grilling me on the Apex skim. MS. Harlan, did you authorize the Cayman transfers? I'd lean into the mic. Voice steady as a surgeon's hand. No. That was Mr. Vale's innovation. Gasps from the gallery. Flashbulbs popping like distant gunfire. Marcus's lawyers screamed foul. But the blockchain didn't lie, his digital fingerprints all over it. Britt surfaced in the mix, testifying in a sundress that screamed, victim chic, her TikToks pivoting from thirst traps to empowerment anthems. Marcus manipulated me, she sobbed on the stand. Mascara rivers down her cheeks. Said Zoe was the real threat. The jury ate it up. Marcus's face on the video feed turned ashen. I met her eyes across the room. A nod of thanks or warning. She'd gotten her book advance. $750,000 from HarperCollins. Titled Pixelated Lies, My Life in the Shadow of Fintech Fraud. We grabbed drinks after. At a dive in Georgetown. Her spilling more than the gin. He flipped on you to save his ass. But Harlan? That old fuck had dirt on everyone. Russian oligarch ties. backroom deals with the Saudis. Marcus thought he could play him. It clicked then. The buried secret I'd half suspected in Rikers. The 22 loan? Chicken feed. The real crime was Apex's beta algo. The one Marcus and I coded in secret, a black box predictor that didn't just forecast crashes, it could trigger them. Microtrades, spoofing orders, all legalish until you scaled to billions. We tested it on a dummy account, made 2 mil overnight, then buried the code when the ethics board got nosy. Marcus revived it for Vanguard, tweaking to siphon fractions from their high-frequency trades. Harlan found out, blackmailed him into the frame-up. Me taking the fall? Collateral for the greater con. I didn't testify against Marcus. Couldn't. Not fully. Plea the fifth, Elena advised, her nails tapping the deposition table. Let the evidence sing.
It did. By fall.
He pled to racketeering. 20 years minimum. No parole. Sentencing in Foley Square. Rain slicking the steps like tears. I watched from the back, incognito in a Burberry trench, as the judge, a no-nonsense Italian from Brooklyn, hammered the gavel. Mr.
Vale.
Your ambition outstripped your morality. Marcus scanned the crowd. Found me somehow. His eyes holding mine. Not hate, but hunger. The unfinished business kind. Post-verdict. The vultures circled. Podcast invites from Joe Rogan wannabes. Netflix pitching a true crime docuseries, Redundant Empire. Working title. I turned him down. Funneled the $310 mill into a foundation, Zoe Harlan Justice Fund. Pro bono for white-collar whistleblowers. Felt righteous, but hollow.
Nights.
I'd scroll X. The Zoe did a war's raging, half calling me a she-devil who shot her way to riches. The other half crowning me Avenger Queen. Finally, a woman who finishes the job, one viral thread read. 50K likes. Controversial? Understatement. Fox ran segments on corporate vigilantism, MSNBC on systemic misogyny in finance. That's when the letters started. From Otisville. Marcus's scrawls on lined paper. Postmarked weekly. Zoe, remember the Xian noodles? The night we pitched the seed round? That was real.
The rest.
Necessary. Necessary. Like gutting your partner was a quarterly report. I burned the first batch in the penthouse fireplace. But curiosity won. The last one, dated November. Harlan's not the end. There's a ghost in the machine. Check the Cayman server, access code. Wharton 22. For us. I shouldn't have. But revenge is addictive. A drip feed high that warps your compass. Elena flew down incognito. We hacked the remnant Apex offshore. Residual data the feds missed. What we found, not just code, but clients, a roster of heavy hitters who'd beta tested the algo. Senators,
CEOs,
even a Veep from the DNC. Crash triggers tied to election cycles. Market dips engineered for insider shorts. Marcus hadn't flipped for immunity. He'd flipped to expose it, using me as bait to draw Harlan out. The frame-up? A feint to force my hand. Make me the martyr who'd blow the lid. Twist upon twist. I was the pawn. Or the queen, hard to say. The server held proof. Marcus's immunity deal included a DOJ side agreement to leak the client list post-sentencing. But Harlan, paranoid prick, had bugged the negotiations, used it to coerce Britt into silence. She'd cracked under my brunch charm, but not fully, held back the client names for her book leverage. Decision time. The controversial kind that splits souls. Leak it all? Torch the elite? Spark a reckoning that'd make Watergate look like a parking ticket? Or bury it deeper? Let Marcus rot as the sole villain, claim my redemption, and sail into sunset. I chose both.
No.
I chose the gray, the American way, selective truth. Anonymous drop to ProPublica. Redacted names, but full mechanics. FinTech algo scandal rocks DC. The expose hit December 1st. Markets dipping 3% on sheer panic. Subpoenas flew. Congressional hearings scheduled. Brit's book deal imploded. Clauses on undisclosed conflicts. She called me hysterical. You bitch. You promised. I hung up. Poured a neat bourbon. Watched the anchors dissect it on CNN from my balcony. Marcus's next letter arrived Christmas Eve. You always were the better closer. Merry Christmas.
Babe.
No signature. But I knew. The feds raided the Cayman server days later. My leak had lit the fuse. More indictments. But Marcus? His deal held. He walked as a cooperator. Sentence commuted to time served. Out by New Year's. Vanished to who knows where. Canada? Belize? I didn't chase. Instead, I sold the yacht. Bought a ranch in Jackson Hole. Wide skies. No boardrooms. Therapy shifted to fly fishing with a grizzled guide named Cal, who didn't pry but listened when I monologued about betrayals over campfire scotch. Sounds like you won, Zoe, he'd grunt, casting into the Snake River. Won? Debatable. The fund thrived. I consulted quietly for startups, ethical ones. No algos that could end worlds. But the fracture lingered. A hairline crack in the rear view. Was Marcus the villain? Or the architect of my salvation? Had I avenged a lie? Or unearthed a truth too big for one woman's grudge? The debates raged online. Dinner parties in the Tetons. She shot first, hero or hothead? No answers. Just echoes. And in the quiet, when the wind howls off the Grand Tetons, I wonder if redundancy was the gift stripped bare, rebuilt sharper. Or just another con in the Empire of Ruins. Jackson Hole winters hit like a reckoning, blizzards burying the ranch in feet of powder, isolating you with your ghosts until the plows come. By January 2026, I'd settled into the rhythm. Mornings chopping wood with a maul that felt more therapy than chore. Afternoons reviewing fun proposals on an encrypted laptop. Evenings with a fire crackling and a stack of legal briefs from Elena. She'd relocated to Denver, poached by a boutique firm specializing in cyber fraud. But our calls were weekly gospel.
Zoe.
The ProPublica drop? It's birthing litters. 3 senators resigned. Vanguard stock at penny status. Her laugh was a lifeline, sharp as barbed wire. But the shadows crept in subtle. First, the tail, a black Tahoe with jersey plates, idling at the edge of my dirt road during grocery runs to Victor. I clocked at third sighting, feinted a U-turn at the feed store, snapped plates, NYK, 47X. Ran M through a dark web contact, XPI buddy from the Apex days, came back clean, rental to a consulting firm in White Plains. Harlan's old stomping grounds. His estate probated to a nephew. But grudges don't die with the man. Then the packages, unmarked, FedExed to the P.O. box. Contents innocuous, but pointed. A Wharton alumni mug, chipped like the one Marcus shattered in our first fight. A flash drive labeled for us, holding audio loops of our old loft arguments, real ones. Pre-deepfake. The last, a single Zian famous foods menu. Grease-stained. With a post-it, Noodles at midnight? No return address. But the handwriting? His. Marcus. Free. Feral. Circling like a wolf scenting weakness. The commutation leaked mid-January. DOJ, national security interests, buried in a footnote to the Algo hearings. Pundits frothed. Fintech felon walks. Is justice for sale? I poured one out for the irony. Glenfiddich on the porch swing. Stars pricking the ink-black sky. He'd played the long game. Always did, framed me to force the leak. Took the bullet figuratively, then almost literally to shield the client purge. Hero? Accomplice? The line blurred. Especially when Cal caught me staring at the menu. Asked if I had an ex with a death wish. I did.
And it itched.
Revenge. I'd learned. Isn't a bonfire, it's embers. Glowing hot under ash. Waiting for a gust. I reached out through back channels, Elena to a prosecutor pal, who pinged a warden contact. Marcus was off-grid. Last sighted in Vancouver. Shacked with a tech widow who'd cashed out on AI patents. He's clean. Zoe. The contact drawled over a staticky line. Or as clean as Vale gets. Word is, he's writing memoir. Maybe. The Algo that ate Wall Street. Writing. The fucker. I pictured him in some cedar A-frame, overlooking fjords, pecking keys while Brit's book climbed bestsellers. Speaking of, her sequel dropped. Shadows of the Score. All tell-all on the real Zoe, painting me as the Ice Queen puppet master who'd seduced Marcus into crime. Reviews gushed. A controversial takedown of female ambition in tech. Controversial. My least favorite word. Right up there with synergies. The tale escalated mid-February. Tahoe blocked my drive one dawn. Driver, a slab-jawed goon with a Mets cap, stepping out, hands raised. MS. Voss. Courtesy call from the family. Harlan's kin wants to sit down. Loose ends. Loose ends. Like I was a spreadsheet row to delete. I grabbed the Remington from the truck rack, Wyoming open carry. No questions, leveled it casual. Tell nephew dearest, ends are tied. Or I'll tie more. He backed off. Tires spinning snow. But the message landed. Harlan's ghost wasn't done haunting. Cal noticed the edge. The way I'd flinch at headlights, slicing the curtains. This life's too quiet for your blood. Ain't it? Over venison stew one night. Fire popping like gunfire. He shared his own scar tissue non-vet. Lost a platoon to friendly fire. Spent decades ranching to outrun the what-ifs. Revenge is a dog that bites its owner.
Zoe.
Feed it scraps. It'll starve. Starve it. It'll turn.
Wise.
But whiskey loose. I kissed him then. Impulsive. Tasting pine and regret. It was comfort. Not fire. Bodies tangling in the bunkhouse. His calloused hands gentle on the tattoos I'd gotten post-Rikers, a ledger line across my ribs. Balance due. Morning after. Clarity hit. Marcus wasn't the threat. He was the mirror. I needed to confront, not chase. Tracked him via the memoir whispers, agent in Toronto. Sniffing publishers. Flew commercial to Vancouver. Incognito in Lululemon and a ball cap. Checked into a Yaletown boutique under Elena Vasquez. She okayed it. Laughing. Just don't shoot anyone north of the border. The widow's A-frame was a 40-minute ferry hop. Salish, sea churning gray under overcast skies. I hiked the last mile. Boots crunching gravel. Heart a war drum. He answered shirtless. Axe in hand, chopping wood. Of course. The cliché fuck. Gray at the temples. Leaner. But those eyes? Still scheming sapphires. Zoe. Not surprise. Invitation. He stepped aside, the cabin smelling of cedar and fresh brew. We talked for hours. No guns. No guards, just truth serum shots of rye. He admitted the flips. First to Harlan for the merger cut. Second to DOJ for the all-go purge. Third.
To me,
In the warehouse. Lunging to give me the shot. You were always the trigger.
babe.
I just loaded. The secret he'd buried? The Algo's first test wasn't dummy trades. It crashed a small-town bank in Pennsylvania. Wiped pensions. Suicides in the wake. I'd signed off. Blind faith. Took the moral weight when he couldn't. Why me? I asked, voice cracking over the flames. The frame. The transfer. Why not burn together? He leaned in, scar puckering. Because empires need a queen. I was the king who fucked up the board. You're the one who resets it. Controversial decision number 4. He handed me a burner with a full client list. Unredacted. Finish what we started. But this time, no pawns. I left at dawn. List burning a hole in my coat. Back in Jackson. Cal waited with coffee and questions unspoken. We rode out that spring. Horses cutting meadows greening under Tetons. The Tahoe sightings gone. Harlan's nephew indicted on harassment. Courtesy of Elena's motion. Brit's sequel tanked amid plagiarism suits. Her apology DM. Truce? Brunch. The score settled uneven. I leaked the list piecemeal. Time drops to max chaos. Markets yo-yoing. DC in meltdown. Marcus's memoir ghosted out under pseudonym. A cult hit in indie circles. Fractured code. No byline credit for me. But the dedication? To Z. Redundant no more. Cal proposed over trout fry that summer. Ring a simple gold band from his army days. I said yes. Or close. Let's try. The wedding was small. Ranch affair. Elena toasting. To loose ends knotted tight. But as vows echoed, I caught a shadow at the tree lean. Black coat. Binoculars glint. Marcus? Watcher or well-wisher? Revenge's shadow lingers. A tension wire under skin. Was it justice? Or just another layer of the con? The debates flared anew. Op-eds on Zoe's reckoning. Splitting readers. Enabler or emancipator? I chose life. Or tried. Cal's hand in mine. Fund growing. Skies vast. But the burner buzzed that night. Empires eternal. Embers. Always embers. Summer in the Tetons peaks like a fever dream. Wildflowers rioting in alpine meadows. Rivers thundering with melt. But the heat wave of 2026 turned it biblical. Wildfires licking the horizons like accusations. Cal and I honeymoon local, pitching tents in the shadow of the cathedral group, making love under stars that felt too close, too judgmental. This is it. Zoe, he'd murmur, his breath, whiskey warm on my neck. The reset. But resets glitch. Mine came via satellite ping on the burner. Marcus's code. Ghost online. Coordinates attached. I should have smashed it. Tossed the damn thing into the snake and watched it drown. Instead, midnight found me in the ranch office. Laptop humming. VPN layered triple thick. The link dropped me into a dark web forum. Fin Empire Underground. Handle Veil Shadow posting manifestos on the next crash. AI overlords or human hubris? Buried in the code. A blueprint. Apex 2.0. An algo evolution that didn't predict markets, it gamed them. Neural nets trained on the old crashes. scalable to crypto, stocks, even elections via social sentiment hacks. He was building again. From Vancouver exile, or wherever his widow's millions had spirited him. The manifesto ended. For the Queen, if she dares.
Dares.
Like the warehouse hadn't been dare enough. Cal stirred in the next room, mumbling about elk fences, gilt-twisted, sharp as barbed wire. This was our life now, simple, stitched from scars, but Marcus's echo pulled like gravity. The Empire's siren song. Elena got the full download next call. Her Denver skyline backdrop glitching on Zoom. Jesus.
Zoe.
It's Pandora's box. This thing could rig the midterms. Tank the Dow on a tweet. She paced. Heels clicking marble. Leak it? DOJ's still mopping the first spill. Half the clients lawyered up. The others in bunkers. Her paws hung heavy.
Or.
Use it. Controlled burn. Expose the players before they deploy. Use it. The controversial fork. Wield the weapon or wield the warning. American as apple pie and antitrust suits. Turn poison to power. I flew east incognito. First-class veil of baseball cap and noise cancels. Landing LaGuardia amid the humidity haze. Met Elena in a midtown Starbucks. The kind with overpriced oat lattes and whispers of deals. Over encrypted pads. We mapped, reverse engineer the code. Trace collaborators. First name on the list?
Brit.
Again. Her pivot post-plagiarism flop. Consultant to a DC think tank. Moonlighting as algo whisperer for senatorial campaigns. Brit's townhouse in Colorama screamed try hard, exposed brick. Ames knockoffs. A ring cam blinking like an accusatory eye. I buzzed as Leah Voss, old alias magic, she answered in yoga pants. Suspicion melting to schadenfreude. Zoe fucking Harlan. To what do I owe the sequel? Brunch turned interrogation over acai bowls at a Foggy Bottom cafe. Secret Service SUVs prowling the perimeter. She admitted, Marcus recruited her post-commutation. For old times. The algo? Her tweaks on the sentiment layer. Scraping X for rage bait to amplify volatility. Why? I pressed, fork spearing arugula like it owed me answers. After everything, the book, the testimony, she shrugged, eyes hard as quartz. Survival.
Babe.
Marcus promised equity. Said you'd understand. Redundancy's a mindset. Flipping again. Brit slid a USB across the table. Her fork of the code. Annotated.
Take it.
But if it blows, my name stays buried. Truce. Or trap. I pocketed it. Left a C-note for the bill. Vanished into the metro's underbelly. Back west. Cal confronted over dinner. Wild elk medallions. Irony noted. You're glowing different.
Zoe.
Wired. Not warm. I broke it open. The manifesto. The blueprint. Brit's fork. He listened. Jaw set like granite. Then, this ain't your fight anymore. Let the feds handle. But his eyes, storm gray. Knowing saw the pull. Or is it, that ghost of yours? He the itch you can't scratch? Itch. Empire. Echo, same beast. I chose the burn. With Elena's hackers, ethical ones. Palo Alto kids with CS PhDs and trust funds. We stress-tested the code on Sims. Fed it mock data. Watched it cascade a virtual Dow Jones into freefall. Timed to a fictional tweet storm. Devastating. Deployable by fall. Midterms fever pitch. The decision crystallized controversial. Deploy a counteralgo. Mine. Seeded with the original's guts, but rigged to self-destruct on unethical trades. Expose by example, let it run wild in a sandbox. Leak the carnage. Force the players to fold. Cal backed the play. Grudging. Just don't become the monster. We coded nights in the bunkhouse. His hands steadying mine on the keyboard. Coffee black as midnight. The counter-birthed echo. A digital canary in the coal mine flagged manipulations, broadcasted to a watcher network of indie journalists. Launch date, Labor Day. Hidden in a crypto wallet trigger. But Marcus anticipated. Always did. Week before drop. The Tahoe returned, not jersey plates, but BC, Vancouver Vanity. Vale one. It parked bold at the ranch gate. Him stepping out in Carhartts and a flannel that screamed reinvention. Miss me? No axe this time. Just a duffel and a grin crooked as fate. We talked on the porch swing. Tetons purple in dusk. Cal watching wary from the barn. Marcus spilled. The manifesto bait.
To draw me in.
The real empire's not code. Zoe, it's us. Harlan's dead. Clients scattered. But the void? It's begging. He unzipped the duffel. Hard drives. Passports. A ledger thicker than the Bible. Run it with me. Echo as cover. But the real play, flip the script. We crash the crashers.
Skimdeskim.
Fund the fund. Robin Hood with algorithms. Temptation tasted like rye. Sharp and familiar. The flip, join or jail him again. Controversial calculus. Power versus peace. Ghost versus grizzly. Cal emerged then. Shotgun loose in his grip. Voice low thunder. Time's up.
Vale.
She's built something here. Without your shadows. Marcus eyed him. Appraising. Lucky man.
But Zoe?
Empires don't retire. He left the duffel. Drove off into the twilight. Taillights fading like a bad sequel. I burned the ledger that night. Flames devouring names and numbers. Cal's arm heavy around me. Echo launched clean. Virtual markets imploded. Leaks hit Wired and NYT. Panic rippling real time. Clients scrambled. DOJ raids doubling down. Brit ghosted. Her think tank gig evaporated. Marcus? Vanished deeper. Rumors of a Belize server farm. Fall brought harvest moons and hearings. Me testifying remote as consultant boss, dismantling the blueprint line by line. The split widened. Media hailed Echo's creator anonymous savior. But whispers fingered me. Harlan's ghost in the machine. Cal, and I expanded the ranch. Added cabins for fun retreats. Whistleblowers healing under wide skies. But echoes persist. AX post here. A coded email there. Marcus's tendrils testing fences. Was it vengeance fulfilled? Or just volume up on the score? Debates simmered, podcasts pitting Zoe the Zealot against Vale's Valkyrie. I chose the cabin life. Cal's ring a anchor. But the burner hummed occasional. Encore? Embers? Eternal. By Thanksgiving 2026, the Tetons had dusted white again. A pristine shroud over the ranch's scars. Cal and I hosted Elena and her new beau, a prosecutor with a jawline like a chisel and a laugh that cut tension like a knife. Turkey roasted slow. Wine flowed freer. Toasts to loose ends and new beginnings. But under the long table, my foot tapped Phantom Morse, Marcus's last ping. 2 weeks prior, reborn in ruins. Coordinates, 18.4667 degrees north.
77.9167 symbol stopnia W.
Jamaica.
Kingston.
To be precise. A grid of rum shacks and Rasta wisdom where empires went to molt. I deleted it.
Or tried.
Cal caught the twitch. Postpie. As we cleared plates. The itch again? His hand on my shoulder. Steady as the Rockies. We built this. Fun now at $50 mil. Retreats booked solid with burned-out execs trading boardrooms for birdwatching. But the coordinates nod. A loose thread in the sweater of our piece. Elena pulled strings preempt. DOJ chatter on a Vail sighting in the Caribbean. Whispers of a new fintech startup masked as a NGO. Eco-algo, she texted. Attachment a grainy photo. Marcus at a cliffside mixer in Negril. Arm around a dreadlocked coder. Pitching sustainable trading to venture vultures. The flip eternal. Villain to visionary. Or just rebrand. The manifesto code? Traces in Ecoalgo's white paper. Laundered green. Controversy brewed domestic first. Brit's third act. A Substack screed titled Ruins Reborn. The True Cost of Zoe's Zeal. Paywalled rants dissecting Echo's collateral. Market dips that tanked 401k. Suicide spiking in trading floors. Harlan was the villain. Zoe's the virus, she typed. Subscriber count swelling within self-financiers and jilted traders. It went viral. Brit speaks trending. Splitting the faithful. My defenders doxing her. Critics crowning her Cassandra. The debates fractured friendships. Elena arguing ethics over eggnog. You started a fire.
Zoe.
Now it's wildfire. Cal's silent. But his eyes said enough. Choose us. Or the chase. I chose flight. Solo, commercial to Montego Bay. Rental jeep rattling potholes to Kingston's Pulse. No gun. Just grit and a go bag with Elena's panic button. The coordinates led to a cliffside villa in the Blue Mountains. Ganja haze and Bob Marley echoes. Guarded by locals with eyes like polished onyx. Marcus answered the gate himself. Barefoot in linen. A joint dangling loose. Knew you'd come. The villa sprawled terraced. Infinity pools spilling into mist. Servers humming in a climate-locked shed. Inside, screens aglow with eco-sims. Predicting not crashes but equity waves, greenwashed greed. Crashing poor markets to buoy the rich. We dueled with words over red stripe and jerk chicken. Sunset bleeding crimson. It's redemption. Zoe, he swore. Eyes fervent. The old algo hurt. This heals. Carbon credits. Microloans. Empire for the everyman.
Lies.
Half at best. The code hit hooks. Sentiment spikes tied to political unrest. Profitable chaos in developing grids. Join me. We finish what Wharton started, right this time. The offer hung. Seductive as sin. Flip final. Rebuild the ruins together. Or raise them solo. Controversial core, no heroes. Just hustlers in the haze. Brit's screed echoed. Was I virus or vaccine? Harlan's ghost laughed from the ledger ashes. Cal's ring burned on my finger like accusation. Dawn broke decisions. I smashed a server. Axe from the woodpile. Sparks flying like fireworks while Marcus watched. Not stopping.
Just sighing.
Always the closer. Cops?
Nah.
His NGO shield bought time. I slipped the perimeter. Jeep eating miles back to the airport.
En route.
Anonymous upload. Eco's full code to WikiLeaks. Redacted just enough to indict without immolating innocents. Fallout hit hurricane force. Ecoalgo unraveled. Raids in Jamaica. Marcus vanishing. Belize? Bali. Brit's Substack subpoenaed. Media maelstrom. Zoe's Caribbean coup. Vigilante or vixen? Splits deepened. Progressives praising the People's Purge, conservatives decrying anarcho-feminism. Cal met me at Jackson Airstrip. Embrace fierce. Thought you'd gone native. We rebuilt stronger. Fund pivoted to AI ethics. Cal co-chair. Our cabin, a command center for quiet crusades. The twist landed spring 27. Marcus's memoir sequel. Self-pubbed on Amazon. Ruins Reborn. Dedication. To Z, virus, vaccine, vortex. Inside. Confessions unspooling. The flips as feints. The empires as illusions. Me as the fulcrum. She shot the king. Crowned the queen. Then burned the board. Hero?
No.
Human. It sparked salons from South by Southwest to Davos. Readers cleaved. Enabler of chaos or architect of awakening. Ending? No tidy bow. Cal and I hiked the Tetons that summer. Pack mules trailing. Skies infinite. The burner? Drowned in the river. Echoes silenced. But at night, firelit, I traced the ledger tattoo. Wonder, did I avenge the betrayal? Or birth a bigger one? Happy? Tragic?
Both.
In the American grain, ruins reborn. Ever contentious. Eternally tense. Marcus surfaced once more. Postcard from parts unknown. Noodles soon?
M.
I framed it. Hung by the mantel. Embers. After all, make the best light.